No one could keep up with Hugo Chavez. I mean, this is a guy who reportedly drank 26 cups of espresso a day, slept about 2 to 3 hours a night. I think that's less than Bill Clinton, who said he slept only 4 hours a night. He was constantly all over the place. He was known as being bombastic. He made long, rambling speeches. These speeches were never boring. Everyone enjoyed listening to Hugo Chavez, even if you didn't agree with everything he was saying. This man sort of rewrote the playbook of not just Venezuelan politics, but in a large sense, sort of Latin American politics as we know it. He took the mantle of Simón Bolívar, the Bolivarian Revolution, but he went one step further. He created his own political sort of institution ideology. It became known as Chavismo. And anyone who followed him was a Chavista. You know, he became his own noun, his own adjective. And so it's almost, it's almost inevitable whoever follows him, whether it's Nicolás Maduro, whether it's an opposition member, even if they're competent rulers, it's going to be extremely hard to step into that larger-than-life persona that was Hugo Chavez. Because people who don't know anything about Venezuela, you mention Venezuela, you think Chavez. You might hate the guy. You might think, oh, he's the guy who railed against the imperialists, America, this socialist-inspired agenda, nationalizing all the oil companies. But you can't fault him for not being energetic while he was in office. And in his own mind, he did start out humbly. His ambition was to take a Venezuela, which many people saw as being run by a moneyed elite, a very, very sort of corrupt elite government, and try to redistribute the wealth, help the poor, empower the poor, give them a voice. Some people would say, at least in the very beginning, he was doing a pretty good job of that. Perhaps his detractors might say, as time went on, he got a big head. He became perhaps a little more autocratic. He became a little too infatuated, perhaps, with himself and with the whole persona, the aura of Hugo Chavez.
So a controversial figure there, like you say, but he mixed opinions about Chavez. So people loved him or hated him. There was no real middle ground, was there?
There was no real middle ground. And you're right. The people who didn't like him really didn't like him because this was a man who expropriated, who nationalized, made threats to do so against the oil industry, big American oil corporations, the electricity companies. He was very much, he wanted to cast himself as a big advocate of the poor. You had a lot of Venezuela's middle class, a lot of investors, a lot of business people, a lot of professionals actually leave Venezuela because they just could not take being part in a country which was being led by a man that they thought had absolutely nothing to do with their interest. But that said, for everyone who left Venezuela, like I said, he had quite a fervent, diehard following. We've been watching these pictures all evening of these people in tears in Caracas crying. It's not like those images we saw out of North Korea when their leader died, the great leader, these orchestrated, wailing, tearful images. These people were really wedded to this man. He had extremely fervent supporters. These are real tears for a man that they really felt espoused their interests, their beliefs. They felt really was their voice in power. So there's some genuine, real feelings tonight and very strong emotions. And even from the opposition, even the opposition knows that it's going to have quite a tough battle because whoever inherits Chavez's mantle will have a lot of his deflected glory, a lot of his bask in his glory, so to speak. They'll have his coattails to ride on.